I heard Melissa's rental car pull into my driveway at exactly 9 in the morning, punctual as always. Through my kitchen window, I watched her unload Natalie's wheelchair from the trunk with practiced efficiency, fold, lift, lock the wheels, check the brakes, everything mechanical, everything measured. She'd been doing this for 3 years now, ever since the accident on Highway 50 that the doctors said had severed something crucial in my granddaughter's spine. I set down my coffee mug, the one with the faded butterflies that my late husband Gerald had given me 30 years ago, and walked to the front door. "Mum, thank you again for doing this," Melissa said, barely looking at me as she wheeled Natalie up the ramp I'd had installed last year. My daughter wore her corporate armour, grey pantsuit, hair pulled back so tight it looked painful, makeup that covered the exhaustion but couldn't hide it completely. At 42, she looked older than I did some days. "It's not doing anything, honey," I said, bending down to kiss Natalie's forehead. "It's spending time with my granddaughter." Natalie smiled up at me, that sad little smile I'd seen too often lately. Her brown hair hung limp around her shoulders, and she wore an oversized Sacramento Kings sweatshirt that swallowed her thin frame. 13 years old, and she looked like she was disappearing. "The care instructions are in the blue folder," Melissa continued, rolling a suitcase into my small living room with its worn floral couch and the cross-stitch pictures I'd made when my hands were steadier. Her medications, the physical therapy exercises, the schedule for Melissa. I touched her arm gently. "I raised you, remember? I think I can manage." Something flickered across my daughter's face, hurt maybe, or guilt, but it vanished as quickly as it came. She knelt beside Natalie's wheelchair, and I watched her adjust the blanket across my granddaughter's legs with the same mechanical precision she'd used on the wheelchair. No warmth, no real tenderness, just duty. "Be good for Grandma," Melissa said, kissing Natalie's cheek quickly. "I'll call every night to check in." "You don't have to," Natalie said softly. "You'll be busy with your meetings." "I always have time for you, sweetheart." But Melissa was already standing, already checking her watch, already halfway out the door in her mind. I walked her to the car, my orthopedic shoes shuffling against the concrete driveway. The Sacramento sun was already getting hot, promising another scorcher. My neighbour's sprinklers hissed across the street, and somewhere a dog was barking. "She seems more withdrawn lately," I said carefully. "Have you noticed?" Melissa threw her carry-on into the back seat. "She's a teenager, Mum. They're all moody. It's more than that. She barely talks during Sunday dinners anymore. She just watches you." My daughter's jaw tightened. "I'm doing everything I can. The medical bills alone. Do you know what specialised care costs? I took this promotion specifically so I could afford the best therapists, the best equipment. This San Diego deal could mean a vice presidency. That means better insurance, better everything for Natalie." "She doesn't need better insurance," I said quietly. "She needs her mother." Melissa's eyes went hard. "That's not fair, Mum. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. I'm doing this alone. No husband, no help, just me trying to keep everything together after." Her voice cracked. "After I'm the one who was driving that day," there it was. The guilt that had been eating her alive for 3 years. I tried to tell her it wasn't her fault, that the semi-truck had run the red light, that no one could have prevented it. But guilt doesn't listen to reason. "I know you're doing your best," I said, softer now. "I just worry about both of you." Melissa hugged me quickly, stiffly. 2 weeks, I'll be back before you know it." She slid into the driver's seat, started the engine. "Oh, and Mum, don't let her talk you into skipping the leg exercises. She hates them, but they're important for preventing muscle atrophy." I waved as she backed out, watched her car disappear down Cedar Street past the Johnson's house with its American flag and the Martinez family's yard with the Virgin Mary statue, my little neighbourhood of Sacramento ranch houses and chain-link fences where I'd lived for 43 years, where I'd buried Gerald and raised Melissa and thought I'd spend my final years in quiet peace. I turned back toward my house, already thinking about making Natalie some lunch, maybe grilled cheese, her favourite, with tomato soup, when I heard the sound. A thump, then footsteps. Footsteps. I rushed through my front door, my heart hammering in my chest with a fear I couldn't name yet, and stopped dead in my entryway. Natalie was standing in the middle of my living room, standing. Her legs were straight and strong beneath her, no trembling, no weakness. The wheelchair sat empty behind her like an abandoned shell, and my granddaughter's face was streaming with tears, her whole body shaking with sobs that came from somewhere so deep and broken that I felt them in my own chest. "Grandma," she choked out, her voice raw and desperate. "Grandma, I need to tell you the whole truth." My knees went weak. I grabbed the door frame to steady myself, my mind trying to make sense of what my eyes were seeing. "Natalie, you're standing. How are you standing?" "Because I can," she screamed, and the anguish in her voice made me flinch. "I've always been able to. There was no spinal injury, Grandma. There was never anything wrong with my legs. The room tilted. I thought I might fall, thought my old heart might just give out right there on my beige carpet." "What are you saying?" Natalie collapsed onto my couch, still crying, her hands covering her face. "I lied. I've been lying for 3 years. I'm not paralyzed. I never was." I moved toward her on autopilot, my mind screaming in 1,000 directions. This wasn't possible. The doctors, the x-rays, the specialists at UC Davis Medical Center. "The accident was real," Natalie said through her tears, reading my thoughts. "We really crashed, but I wasn't hurt badly, just some bruises and a concussion. When I woke up in the hospital, Mum was there and she was crying, Grandma, actually crying. I hadn't seen her cry since Dad left when I was 6. She was holding my hand and telling me how sorry she was, how she'd never let anything happen to me again, how she'd take care of me forever." My legs finally gave out. I sank onto the couch beside her, my whole body numb. "And then the doctor came in," Natalie continued, her voice hollow now. "He said I was very lucky, that it could have been so much worse. He asked me to move my legs and I didn't. I just looked at Mum and she was staring at me with this terror in her eyes, and I thought if I told them I couldn't move, she'd stay. She'd actually be there. She wouldn't leave me anymore." "Oh, Natalie," the words came out as barely a whisper. "It was only supposed to be for a little while." She turned to me, her young face twisted with guilt and desperation, "just until she paid attention to me again. But then the doctors did more tests and they seemed confused, and Mum started crying more, and she quit her old job to work from home, and suddenly she was making me breakfast and helping me get dressed and asking about my day, and I couldn't stop. I couldn't tell her the truth, because then she'd go back to how she was before. Always working, always gone, always too tired to care. I tried to speak, but no words came. My mind was reeling through 3 years of memories, the fundraisers our church had held to help with medical expenses, Melissa's haunted eyes at family gatherings, the way my daughter had aged a decade in those years. All of it built on a lie, a child's desperate lie. "She changed everything for me," Natalie sobbed. "She became a different person. She'd come to my room every night and read to me, even though I'm way too old for bedtime stories. She'd brush my hair and ask me about school and actually listen. For the first time since Dad left, I had a mum again, a real mum who saw me." "But honey, the cost." "I know," Natalie's voice broke. "I know what it cost her. I see how tired she is, how she never does anything for herself anymore, how she gave up dating and friends and everything. I see the medical bills on the counter, the ones she tries to hide from me. I know she took a job she hates because it has better insurance. I know, Grandma, and it kills me every single day. She fell against me and I wrapped my arms around her automatically, this child who'd been carrying an unbearable secret for 3 years. My mind was spinning with questions, with horror, with a kind of grief I'd never experienced before. "Why are you telling me now?" I finally managed to ask. Natalie pulled back, wiping her eyes. "Because I can't do it anymore. I'm suffocating, Grandma. I had to quit soccer. I loved soccer. I can't go to normal school. I do everything online. I have no friends because how can I have friends when I'm living a lie every second? And Mum, God, Mum has built her whole life around taking care of me and none of it is real. How have you kept this hidden for so long? It's easier than you'd think, she said bitterly. I only have to fake it when Mum's around. When she's at work, I'm alone anyway. I've gotten really good at falling exactly the same way, at making my legs look limp, at remembering which muscles shouldn't move. The therapists think I have some nerve response issues. The doctors are baffled by my case. Only one nurse ever seemed suspicious, but she quit last year. I stood up, pacing my small living room past Gerald's old recliner and the bookshelf with my romance novels and devotional books. Outside I could hear children playing in the street, their laughter so normal, so innocent. Nothing about this was normal. You have to tell her, I said. Natalie, you have to tell your mother the truth. I can't. Natalie stood too, and I saw real fear in her eyes. Don't you understand? If I tell her now, she'll hate me. She'll know that everything she's sacrificed, every single thing she's given up, was for nothing. She'll know I've been lying to her face for 3 years. She'll never forgive me, Grandma. Never. She's your mother. She'll go back to how she was before, Natalie screamed. Don't you see? This is the only way I can keep her. If I tell her the truth, I lose her again, but this time it'll be worse because she'll hate me too. I sank back onto the couch, my head in my hands, 76 years old, and I thought I'd seen everything. Thought I understood people, understood love and family, and the complicated ways we hurt each other. But this was beyond anything I'd imagined. Why tell me then? I asked quietly. Why now, while she's gone? Natalie sat beside me again, and when she spoke, her voice was small and broken. Because I need someone to know, because I can't carry this alone anymore, and because she took a shuddering breath, because I thought maybe you could help me figure out what to do. You're the wisest person I know, Grandma. You always know the right thing, but I didn't know the right thing. For the first time in my life, I had no idea what the right thing was. Does anyone else know? I asked. No one, just you now. We sat in silence for a long moment. Through my window, I could see Mrs. 10 across the street watering her roses, so ordinary, so blissfully unaware that my entire world had just imploded. I need time to think, I said finally. This is Natalie, this is so much bigger than you understand. I know it's wrong, she whispered. I know I'm a terrible person. I pulled her close again. You're not terrible. You're a child who was hurting and made a desperate choice. But honey, you're not a child anymore. You're 13 now, old enough to understand consequences. What are you going to do? Fear crept into her voice. Are you going to call Mum? Are you going to tell her? I looked into my granddaughter's terrified eyes and realised I was standing at a crossroads I'd never wanted to face. Tell the truth and watch my daughter's world collapse. Watch her learn that the grief and sacrifice of 3 years have been based on a lie, or keep the secret and become part of the deception, watching them both sink deeper into this horrible fiction. I don't know yet, I admitted. I need to pray on this. I need to think, how long do I have? Natalie asked, and she sounded so young, so scared. 2 weeks, I said. Your mother comes back in 2 weeks. Before then, we need to figure this out. Natalie nodded, then slowly lowered herself back into the wheelchair. Watching her fold her body into that practiced position of helplessness made my stomach turn. Can I ask you something? I said. When you're alone, do you walk around? Do you live normally? Sometimes, she admitted, when Mum's at work, but it feels wrong now, like I'm not allowed to be myself anymore. Sometimes I forget which version of me is real. I closed my eyes, feeling older than my 76 years, feeling the weight of this secret pressing down on my chest like a stone. That night, after I'd made us dinner, chicken and rice that neither of us really ate, and after I'd helped Natalie into bed in my guest room, I stood at my bedroom window looking out at my quiet street. Somewhere down in San Diego, my daughter was probably working late, preparing for her meetings, carrying the weight of a caregiving responsibility that didn't exist. And here in my house, my granddaughter slept with a secret that was slowly destroying them both. I thought about calling my pastor Reverend Holland, but what would I even say? I thought about calling my sister Patricia in Oregon, but she'd never been good at keeping secrets. I thought about everything I believed about honesty and truth and doing the right thing, all the values I'd tried to live by my whole life. And I realised I had no idea how to apply them to this. Because this wasn't about abstract principles. This was about my daughter who'd been drowning in guilt for 3 years. This was about my granddaughter who'd been drowning in loneliness for even longer. This was about a family so broken that the only way they could connect was through suffering. As I finally climbed into bed, my joints aching and my mind exhausted, I whispered a prayer into the darkness. Lord, I don't know what to do. Please show me the way. But the darkness didn't answer, and I lay awake until dawn, trapped between love and truth, knowing that whatever choice I made would break someone's heart. The next morning, I found Natalie already awake in her wheelchair, staring out the living room window. She looked at me with eyes that held too much knowledge for 13. "Grandma," she said quietly, "I need to show you something else, something that'll help you understand why I can't tell her yet." She rolled into my kitchen and pulled out her phone, opening the Photos app. "Look at these." I scrolled through images that made my throat tighten. Pictures of Melissa and Natalie together, baking cookies, watching movies, doing face masks. In every single photo, my daughter was smiling, really smiling, not the corporate mask she wore to the world. "These are all from the last 3 years, Natalie said. "Before the accident, we barely had any pictures together. She was never around long enough. Now look." She was right. Before 3 years ago, my phone had maybe a handful of photos of them together, always stiff and formal. After the accident, hundreds. "This is the mum I always wanted," Natalie whispered, and I bought her with a lie. The days crawled by like wounded animals. I kept Natalie's secret locked in my chest, where it sat like a tumour, growing heavier with each passing hour. We fell into a strange routine during the day she stayed in the wheelchair, practicing her role even though we both knew the truth. At night, after she was sure no neighbours could see through the windows, she'd stand and pace my living room like a caged animal finally released. "It feels wrong to walk now," she told me on the 4th night, stretching her legs, "like I'm doing something illegal." I watched her from Gerald's old recliner, my hands wrapped around chamomile tea that had gone cold. "That's guilt, honey. It's your conscience telling you something. I know it's wrong, Grandma. You don't have to keep reminding me." Her voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. Melissa called every night at 8 o'clock sharp. I'd hand the phone to Natalie and watch my granddaughter transform her voice, going softer, more fragile, telling her mother about our quiet days together. Grandma made pot roast, we watched old movies. "I miss you, Mum. All of it true, all of it lies." And Melissa would respond with such tenderness, such devotion, that I'd have to leave the room. I'd stand in my kitchen, gripping the counter, listening to my daughter promise to bring back souvenirs, to take Natalie to the coast when she got home, to never leave her again. Each promise was another brick in the wall of deception we were building. On the 6th day, something shifted. I was pulling weeds in my front garden. The tomatoes needed tending and my hands needed something to do besides shake, when I heard a crash from inside. I rushed in to find Natalie on the floor, the wheelchair toppled beside her, her face pale with shock. "I forgot," she gasped. "I was reaching for a book and I just stood up without thinking. I forgot I was supposed to be paralysed." I helped her up, my heart racing. "What if your mother had been here?" "But she wasn't," Natalie snapped, then immediately looked ashamed. "I'm sorry, Grandma. I'm sorry. It's just, this is my house too, you know. This is the only place I can be myself, and I have to remember to be broken here too." That's when I truly understood the prison she'd built. Not just for 2 weeks while Melissa was gone, but forever. Every moment, every breath, constantly monitoring herself, never allowed to forget the lie. That night, I couldn't sleep. I got up at 2 in the morning and found Natalie in the kitchen, standing at the window in her pyjamas, looking out at the dark street. Can't sleep either, I asked. She shook her head. I keep thinking about what happens when Mum comes back. I have to go back into the chair full time. No more walking at night. No more freedom, even the tiny bit I have here. I poured us both water and we sat at my kitchen table under the harsh fluorescent light. The house creaked around us, settling into the cool night. Tell me about before, I said. Before the accident. What was it really like? Natalie's eyes went distant. She was never there, Grandma. She'd leave for work before I woke up and come home after I'd gone to bed. Sometimes days would pass and I'd barely see her. When Dad left, it got worse. She threw herself into work like she was running from something. I'd make myself dinner, do my own homework, put myself to bed. I was 10 years old and I felt invisible. And after the accident, she saw me. Natalie's voice cracked. Finally, she saw me. She'd sit with me for hours, just talking. She'd help me with schoolwork, even though I didn't need help, just so we could be together. She became the mother I'd been begging for since I was 6. Built on a lie, I said softly. Built on a lie, she echoed. But Grandma, if I tell her the truth, she'll go back to how she was. I know she will. The guilt is the only thing that makes her stay. I reached across the table and took her hand. Natalie, listen to me. That's not love. That's manipulation. I know. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Don't you think I know that? I hate myself every day. But I can't lose her again. I can't go back to being invisible. The next morning, I did something I'd been avoiding. I called Melissa. Mum, is everything okay? Is Natalie? She's fine, I interrupted. I just wanted to talk to you. How are the meetings going? A pause. Fine. Good, actually. Why? I took a breath. Melissa, when was the last time you did something just for yourself? Something that had nothing to do with work or taking care of Natalie. Another pause. Longer this time. I don't understand the question. When was the last time you saw a friend? Went to a movie? Read a book for pleasure? Mum, I don't have time for. That's my point, honey. You don't have a life anymore. Everything revolves around Natalie's care. She's my daughter. Melissa's voice rose. She's paralysed because I was driving that day. I owe her everything. You owe her love, not martyrdom, I said quietly. And you owe yourself forgiveness. Silence, then barely a whisper. I can't forgive myself, Mum. Not for this. After we hung up, I sat staring at my phone for a long time. My daughter was destroying herself with guilt over an injury that never happened. My granddaughter was destroying herself, maintaining the lie that fed that guilt. They were locked in a death spiral of love and deception, and I was the only one who could break it. But breaking it would shatter them both. That night, Natalie found me crying in my bedroom. She'd actually walked, forgetting again, and saw me sitting on my bed with Gerald's old Bible open in my lap. Grandma, she sat beside me, her young face worried. What's wrong? I don't know what to do, I admitted. I've prayed and prayed and I still don't know the right answer. Natalie was quiet for a moment. Then what would Grandpa Gerald have said? I smiled through my tears. Your grandpa always said the truth might hurt, but lies hurt worse and for longer. Then you think I should tell her? I think you already know what you should do. You've known all along. Natalie stood and walked to my window, her movements so natural, so free. If I tell her, she'll hate me. Maybe at first, I said. But honey, she can't truly love you while you're lying to her. And you can't truly love yourself while living this lie. You're 13 years old and you're losing your childhood to a wheelchair you don't need. I'm scared, Grandma. I know, sweetheart. But courage isn't about not being scared. It's about doing the right thing anyway. She turned to me, tears streaming. Will you help me tell her? My heart clenched. Is that what you want? No, but it's what I need to do. We decided to tell Melissa in person when she returned. We had 5 days left. 5 days for Natalie to practice walking properly again. Her muscles had weakened from 3 years of disuse, her gait unsteady. 5 days for me to rehearse the words I'd say when my daughter's world fell apart. On day 12, Melissa called early. Mum, I'm coming home tonight instead of Friday. The deal closed early and I miss Natalie so much. I can't stand being away from her another 3 days. My blood ran cold. We weren't ready. Natalie wasn't ready. I found my granddaughter in the living room and told her. She went white. Tonight, but I need more time. I know, honey, but no. She grabbed the wheelchair, started to sit. I can't tell her yet. I need to think more. Natalie, I knelt in front of her, my old knees protesting. If you get back in that chair now, you'll never get out. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes. If not tonight, when? Next month? Next year? Never. She was shaking, her whole body trembling. I can't do it, Grandma. I thought I could, but I can't. Yes, you can, because you're brave and strong and you're better than this lie. What if she never forgives me? Then we'll deal with that together, I said. But Natalie, what if she does? What if telling the truth is what finally sets you both free? At 7:30 that evening, I heard Melissa's car in the driveway. Natalie stood in the middle of my living room, no wheelchair in sight. She wore jeans and sneakers, clothes she hadn't worn in public in 3 years. Her legs shook, but she stood tall. I opened the door. Melissa came in, smiling, arms full of shopping bags. Surprise, I brought presents for. She stopped dead when she saw Natalie standing there. The bags fell from her hands. Natalie, hi, Mum. My granddaughter's voice was barely a whisper. Melissa's face went through a dozen emotions in seconds. Confusion, shock, disbelief, hope. You're standing. Oh my God, you're standing. Did something change? Did the feeling come back? We need to call the doctor. We need to... Mum, stop. Natalie's voice was stronger now. Please just stop and listen. Something in her tone made Melissa freeze. I saw the exact moment understanding began to dawn, saw my daughter's face shift from joy to horror. How long? Melissa whispered. There was never any paralysis, Natalie said, tears streaming now. The accident was real, but I was never injured. Not like that. I lied, Mum. I've been lying for 3 years. Melissa staggered backward. I moved to steady her, but she jerked away from me. No, that's impossible. The doctors said. The doctors were confused because there was nothing to find, Natalie said. I fooled everyone. I fooled you. Why? The word came out as a broken sob. Why would you do this to me? Because it was the only way to make you see me, Natalie cried. Before the accident, you were never there. You didn't care about me. You barely knew I existed. But after, you changed. You became the mum I'd always wanted. And I couldn't give that up. Melissa's legs gave out. She sank to the floor, her whole body shaking. 3 years. 3 years I've been, oh God, the job I quit, the promotion I took, the money, the therapy, She looked up at Natalie with eyes full of anguish. I reorganized my entire life around taking care of you. I know, Natalie sobbed. I'm so sorry, Mum. I'm so sorry. You let me carry this guilt. Melissa's voice rose to a scream. I thought I'd crippled my own daughter. I haven't had a single night without nightmares. I gave up everything to make sure you had the best care, and it was all a lie. You gave me up first, Natalie screamed back. You gave me up when Dad left. You chose work over me every single day. I was 10 years old and I was raising myself. The words hung in the air like shrapnel. Melissa's face crumpled. I was trying to survive. Your father left us with nothing. I had to work those hours to keep the house, to give you a stable life. I didn't need a stable life, I needed a mother. They stared at each other across my living room, both crying, both broken in different ways. I stood between them, my own heart shattered, watching my family fall apart. Melissa, I said quietly. She was a child, a hurting child who made a terrible choice. My daughter looked at me with betrayal in her eyes. You knew, how long have you known? Since the day you left. And you didn't tell me. Mum, how could you? Because I wanted her to tell you herself, I said firmly. Because confessing had to be her choice, and because I took a shaky breath, because I needed to understand why this happened in the first place. This isn't your fault, Grandma, Natalie said through her tears. No, Melissa said coldly, standing up. It's mine, apparently. Everything is my fault. I was a terrible mother, so my daughter faked a disability to punish me. That's not why I did it, Natalie pleaded. I just wanted you to love me. I've always loved you. Then why weren't you ever there? The question echoed in the silence. Melissa opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Finally she whispered, I didn't know how to be both. Your father leaving, it broke something in me. I thought if I could just provide enough, be successful enough, you'd be okay. I thought money and stability were love. I needed you, Natalie said simply. Just you. Melissa sank onto my couch, her face in her hands. For a long moment, no one spoke. Outside, I could hear children laughing, life going on as normal, while our world rebuilt itself. I don't know if I can forgive this, Melissa finally said. Not right now, maybe not ever. Natalie flinched like she'd been struck, but she nodded. I understand. But, Melissa continued, looking up with red-rimmed eyes, I'm not leaving. I'm angry and hurt, and I don't know how to process any of this, but I'm not leaving you. We're going to therapy, real therapy, all of us, and we're going to figure out how to be a family again. The right way this time. Really, hope flickered in Natalie's voice. Really, Melissa stood, and for the first time, she really looked at her daughter standing whole, healthy. You can walk. I can walk, Natalie confirmed. Show me. Natalie took a tentative step, then another. Her gait was uncertain after 3 years of pretending, but she crossed the room to her mother. Melissa caught her in an embrace so fierce I heard them both gasp. Don't ever lie to me again, Melissa whispered into her daughter's hair. Never again. I can't survive that twice. I won't, Mum. I promise. They held each other and cried, and I turned away to give them privacy, wiping my own tears. Through my kitchen window, the sun was setting over Sacramento, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Gerald used to say that sunsets were God's way of reminding us that endings could be beautiful too. 3 months later, I sat in my living room with Melissa and Natalie. The wheelchair was gone, donated to someone who actually needed it. Natalie had started regular school again and had joined a soccer team. Melissa had cut back her hours and was dating someone, a kind man named Patrick, who taught high school history. They came for Sunday dinner, now really came, not just going through the motions, and I watched them learn to be a family again, this time built on truth instead of guilt. It's still hard sometimes, Melissa admitted, helping me wash dishes while Natalie did homework at my kitchen table. I still get angry, I still wonder what those 3 years cost us both. But you're here, I said. You're both here, and you're honest with each other. That's what matters. Natalie looked up from her algebra textbook. Grandma's right, Mum. We lost 3 years, but we have all the years ahead. Melissa smiled, a real smile, the kind I hadn't seen since she was a child herself. When did you get so wise? I had a good teacher, Natalie said, grinning at me. That night after they'd left, I sat in Gerald's old recliner and thought about choices and consequences, about love and forgiveness, about the complicated ways we hurt the people we love most. The truth had hurt, just like Gerald always said, but it had also freed them both. Outside my window, the Sacramento night was cool and clear. Somewhere down the street, I heard a dog barking and a child laughing. Normal sounds, healing